Right, good evening everybody and welcome to the full council meeting of Bexhill Town Council. Today is Wednesday the 18th of May 2024 and it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to ask all councillors please to make sure that your mobile phones are switched off, as this could interfere with the recording of our meetings. So we're going on to the agenda. The first item on our agenda is, as this is our annual general meeting, to elect our chair. I understand, can I have, has anybody put their name forward to be chair? Councillor Wilson and Councillor Plym. Thank you.
Could I, Chair, before you do that, could I just say a few words?
Yes.
I'm speaking as a fellow ward councillor for yourself.
Yes.
And I just want to say a few words about what I've observed of your performance this year as a Mayor to Bexhill-on-Sea Town Council. And personally, I would like to say a huge thank you for all the work that you have done for Bexhill Town Council during the last 12 months. I think it's admirable. I think you've represented this Town Council extremely well. And personally, I say to you, thank you very much indeed.
Oh, thank you. Very kind. Thank you, everyone. So it's between Councillor Plym and Councillor Wilson. Councillor Wilson, as you're nearest to me, have you got a seconder for your nomination? Councillor Hussain. And Councillor Plym, have you got a seconder?
Again, I hope so.
Councillor Thomas. Right, okay then. So I think this can be done just by a show of hands. Can I just clarify with you, Clerk, that if somebody wants to vote for both candidates, are they allowed to at this time? This is just two. Or is this like a strikeout vote? I just need to clarify this.
Sure. So if you've got one position and two candidates, so it's a strikeout vote. Yeah.
Okay.
So could you remember?
Jack, could I just ask for an explanation? I'm not familiar with the rules for strikeout votes, probably because I'm new and I've missed the others. So if you could just explain it in a bit more detail, it'd be useful, please.
Okay.
So you'll read out one person's name, and then people who want to vote for that person will vote. You read out the other person's name, people who want to vote for that person will vote. The person with the highest number of votes wins.
Right, okay.
But you can't vote for both. Otherwise that doesn't make sense.
In a strikeout vote situation, we have in the past voted for both.
Yes, but that's what is totally confusing me. I can understand that when you've got several candidates, but with two?
The chair runs the meeting, so it will be for the chair to decide.
Sorry, Chair, this should be through you, yes. Please.
Possibly, I think, as there's just two people, unless there's a tie or something like that, I would just say we'll announce the candidates and we'll have a show of hands. So first of all...
Sorry, could you confirm also whether the person who's standing can vote for themselves?
Yes, I think you can. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I hope so.
Right, okay. Well, we'll start off with Councillor Paul Wilson. Can I have a show of hands just to vote for him as the chair, please? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and now Councillor Paul Plym. Can I have a show of hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And looks like I've got a deciding vote. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, well, under the circumstances, with the utmost respect to both candidates and both councillors, I would like to put the chair over to Councillor Wilson, because he hasn't done it before, and I'd like to see a new face. So with all respect, so that would be it. So well done, Councillor Wilson. Congratulations, and I think it's time we handed the... Have I got a medal?
Yeah.
I've been saying I needed one.
How strange that you said some words where you actually presented you with a medal from Bexhill Town Council as a past mayor.
Oh, thank you so much. You'll have to take the chair now, and you'll have to take the chair. So, don't be no excuses. This is yours. Congratulations, and I wish you every success.
Thank you. Colour coordinated as well.
Colour coordinated, what more can I ask for?
Not for any reason.
Right, lovely. Okay, well, I think you have to sign a document now, don't you?
Okay.
And I have to go and sit somewhere, so I'll go and sit where you were, because it's easy.
Well, and now for something a little different.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry,
Just before you start your proceedings, can I be the first to congratulate you on your new term of office?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'll just breathe for 10 minutes and stop shaking, and then we can carry on to item 2. Okay. Item 2 is to elect a vice chair of Bexhill-on-Sea Town Council for the next year. Do we have anyone who wishes to be nominated for the role of vice chair? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Do we have a seconder first for Councillor Hussain? Councillor Jacqueline? A seconder for Councillor Byrne? Councillor Fimpey, and a seconder for Councillor Blagrove. Councillor Lottie. Okay, so this will be under the same auspices as the first vote, which is a strikeout vote to see who's voting for who, with the candidate that comes third being removed, and then it will be a one-on-one election. So first off, as I went this way to start with, I would ask all those in favour of electing Councillor Hussain as Vice Chair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's 8. Thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Byrne as Vice Chair. 1, 2, 3. Councillor Byrne, are you voting for yourself?
Yes.
This is strange.
And Councillor Blagrove, all those in favour of Councillor Blagrove? 2. So on the first round, 3. 4. That's 4. So we have a tie for third place. So I guess I would have the casting vote. So I have to choose whether Councillor Byrne or Councillor Blagrove is removed. In this instance, I'm going to put my vote to Councillor Byrne. For varying reasons, I think it's timing more than anything, so I will put my vote to Councillor Byrne. So that would leave 2, which is Councillor Hussain and Councillor Byrne. So I now ask again, all those in favour of Councillor Hussain to be Vice Chairman? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All those in favour of Councillor Byrne? 1, 2, 3. So in that instance, that confirms that Councillor Hussain is elected as Vice Chairman of Bexhill-on-Sea Town Council for the next 12 months.
Dressing up.
Well done.
Okay, so it was rather remiss of me. I didn't think I should do all the thank yous at the beginning, but I apologise. Thank you, Councillor Winter, for all your work that you've also done during the last 12 months.
I'll send you
It was your first opportunity in that role, and I thought you did a pretty good job. You have a lot on your plate, and you still turned up where you were needed to support Councillor Brailsford, so thank you again.
Thank you very much.
So we move on to item 4 of the agenda, which is to receive declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Do I have any of those? Councillor Byrne, I'm going to round most of these up in one. Councillor Winterburn and Timpey.
Rother District Council.
Rother District Council.
Rother District Council.
Committee member for Bexhill.
Thank you. Councillor Brailsford.
I'm not for that. I think we should have had apologies for absence.
My apologies. Yes, we'll do the apologies for absence. I'm sorry. I'm probably still shaking a little bit, so thank you. Grant, do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, so Councillor Carroll, he's at work, he may arrive late, and Councillor Drayson's unwell.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll accept those as apologies for the meeting. So we'll now go on to item 4. We've got the 3 declarations for the 3 Rother District Councillors. Councillor Hampton, I half heard your declaration. A member of
Bexhill Carnival.
Bexhill Carnival, thank you. Councillor Brailsford, you were declaring, I think, or you were not?
No, I was going to remind you about the absence.
All right, thank you. Those are noted. Moving on to item 5, it's the minutes of the last full council meeting on the 10th of April, as distributed under Appendix A, and as we know this is for information. Just need a proposer and a seconder for me to sign them as a true record. Councillor Plim as a proposer to accept them, Councillor Timpey as a seconder. Thank you. Duly signed. Thank you. So the next part of this is to receive the minutes and updates, and this is for noting only since the last full council. The first one is the Planning, Development and Advisory Committee, which is Appendix B. We'll have that. Again, if there were any comments to be made from that, they should be made to the chairman of those committee meetings in advance of this meeting. 6B is the asset transfer on the 17th, which was Appendix C. Item C, the Climate, Nature and Environment Committee, which is Appendix D. And finally, 6D, which was the Finance and General Purposes Committee, which is Appendix E. They've all been issued, so that is purely for notation and records only. So item 7 is recommendations from those said committees. So 7A, the asset transfer, had a recommendation to this full council that the council specification for an emergency maintenance response contract for Devonshire Square toilets be created, and you should have all had that draft document. I was at that meeting, so I'm fully aware of it. Just for general background, clearly as we have some facilities that we need to manage, currently the only method is through our clerk, and it's unreasonable for our clerk to be available 24/7, 7 days a week, including bank holidays, as has proven this weekend. So we weren't able to put this in place because the asset transfer can only put recommendations to full council. So this has come to full council for discussion, and I'd like to think it would just be agreed because it's a recommendation from a committee, and we should be trusting committee, but I will open it for a brief discussion if anybody has any major comments to talk about. That's promising. Okay, are we happy with this specification and for our clerk to carry on with this? Do you need any more help to make this happen? Okay. That is 7AI done. 7BI, the Climate and Nature Committee had a recommendation that the responsibility of the neighbourhood plan is moved to the Planning Committee under their own terms of reference. Perhaps I would ask the Climate and Nature and Environment Committee Chair to explain, just briefly if you can.
Yeah, I'll be very, very brief with this, but it's far better within the planning committee than it does with the emerging new committee that takes over from Climate, Nature and Environment Committee. It just fits better, goes along with the remit and everything, so I can't say any more than that.
So, need a proposer and a seconder for that, I would suggest. Councillor Ramsey.
No, can I make a possible amendment to that proposal? As it's the neighbourhood plan, it is something that I consider is very important to us as a council. I would like the responsibility of the neighbourhood plan to be under the jurisdiction of full council.
Okay. We've got one proposal. I would ask that it's come through the Chair of Climate and Nature. How would you feel about that, Chair of Climate and Nature?
I'd rather we discuss the motion that's forward, the proposal that's forward, and
Okay.
and if it falls, and then we can then discuss after that.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? Councillor Hell.
So just looking at the committees that we're going to be approving members for later on, at the moment the Planning and Development Committee doesn't hold quorum due to the fact there's 3 people there and there's 7 spaces. Should we maybe look at this later on in the agenda?
So you're suggesting park it until after we've dealt with the...
Just in case it doesn't.
Councillor Pym.
Yeah, under the current standing orders, it does carry quorum. 3 members is all you need.
Out of 7.
You only need 3.
It does, yes?
Yeah, the quorum is 3.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is limited. I accept it's limited through other events that may happen, unwellness, etc. And they are every fortnight, those meetings. So the chances are, as we've noted recently, the quorum may not be achieved every time as it sits now. So I tend to think that to enable us to work out whether that would work, we should park that until after we've done the structure, the committee structure. Does anyone have any objections if I make the decision to do that?
I think it might entice people to sit on the planning committee if it was dealing with the neighbourhood plan. So I think we need to discuss where the neighbourhood plan lies before we actually fill that committee up.
So, as I see the issue with that, if we move the neighbourhood plan to planning now, and then people decide that we're not going to have a planning department, we're then going to have a difficulty in unravelling the moving of that to planning if planning isn't there, maybe. So, I think the safest bet, can I do that? Move that until after committee structure?
Chair's decision.
I'm going to move that until after the structure.
There's 3 down on this. Can you co-opt?
No, people have to volunteer. The space is on there. People have been asked which committee they want to go on to, so they would have to volunteer to go on to that committee. You can't co-opt because you can only co-opt to volunteer.
Well, yeah.
So I'm going to move on because that's what I've decided to do. So item 8 is to note the resignation of Councillor Julie Norris, and I think there's been an email sent out today that there won't be an election for City Ward, meaning that there weren't 10 people that have written in from the City Ward asking for an election. So I think our clerk has already said that it will be on the June for a co-option process. So something to think about. Item 9, to review of delegation arrangements and terms of reference for committees, which is Appendix G, which was sent out. This is the changes that were put through 2 meetings ago around the changing of the names, etc., etc. Does anybody wish to make any comments about the delegation arrangements and terms of reference for committees? Our clerk has spent, I'm sure, a lot of time to make sure that the committees that have been restructured, that their powers have been moved to the right ones, and the names have changed, and I think it will enable us to move forward. I think it is worth moving to the discussion about the planning committee now, because it is within the council terms of reference. I will open it for a debate again. We've had the decision made a couple of months ago, but this is the start of a new year. It is quite clear when our clerk has asked for nominations to go onto the committees that 3 have come forward for the planning committee. So it is really a choice that we either robustly have to find some more councillors who believe in the planning committee, or really consider our options, because we have to think of the cost behind things, and the cost behind doing a planning committee is 2 meetings a month for our filming, plus all the time in the office for the preparation of that meeting, and then sometimes the meetings don't happen, and the costs involved are hundreds for each meeting. I haven't got the exact figure, but you can imagine the cost of the filming at half an hour, because the next meeting is at least half an hour away. And the suggestion previously was to have a call-in process, which is if there are planning applications in your own ward, you call it in and a meeting is then held, which would normally be acceptable within the timescale, but crucially you should also contact the district councillor to call it in at the district council, which means then it's heard at planning committee rather than just left as delegated authority for the planning officers themselves. So there's a 2 thing that we can do. So I think I'm going to give a little bit of time for discussion before we move on, and then go back to the recommendation from committee. Councillor Jacklin.
I agree with Councillor Clem that if the neighbourhood plan were to be within the remit of this committee, it would make a difference. But I'm also with Lynn, Councillor Brailsford, when she says that the neighbourhood plan probably merits full council attention, and it feels to me as if whilst planning is important, there are only a small number of major developments, and maybe if those could be brought to the attention of the full council, we wouldn't need the planning committee, unfortunately.
Okay, Councillor Goss.
Yeah, I would agree with Councillor Brailsford. The neighbourhood plan is really a different sort of animal to normal planning committee. It covers a much wider aspect of the whole thing than just sort of basic planning. So yeah, I think that's correct to move into full council.
Anybody else have any comments or observations? Councillor Brailsford.
I'd like to say that in the interest of democracy and in fairness, I'd like to ask if anyone wants to stand now on the planning committee. That's going to extend the numbers.
Okay.
That's a fair thing to do.
I'm happy to do that. Does anybody else want to stand on the planning committee?
I will.
Councillor Crotty. Okay. Still 2 places. 3 places. So we're only just over half full. No other volunteers. So the question is, I think, twofold. One, do we still want to have a planning committee with only 4 councillors on it? And then B, if we do, does the neighbourhood plan sit there? Or if we don't, where does the neighbourhood plan sit? So, Councillor Timpey.
Yeah, could I ask, because the neighbourhood plan, the whole process is very long and very involved and takes years. Does it make any sense to have its own committee? Because as Councillor Brailsford said, it's really important.
I don't think I'm qualified. I'd ask our clerk, who's been involved in neighbourhood plans before, perhaps you could guide us through what your thought is, whether it should have a separate committee or be part of full council, or where does it sit?
Okay, through you, Chair. It's already been agreed that it's a steering group. So the decision here isn't to set up to create a committee for the neighbourhood plan. A steering group has already been created for the neighbourhood plan. It's where does that steering group report into?
Yeah.
Because the steering group doesn't have any legal powers or decision making. powers to it. So everything it does is a recommendation. So either its recommendations go into the planning committee or its recommendations go into full council.
So if you look at that colourful, you'll see it's blue, which is called an advisory committee. So it's got to sit under somewhere or into full council, one or the other. And I think it probably should sit somewhere, otherwise it will get lost in the ether of... So the first question is what we do with the planning department, the planning committee with only 4 councillors on, because that does leave us somewhat exposed to make a robust planning decision if there's only 4 there. I need some motions or some ideas. Councillor Jacqueline.
Is there a motion therefore that we continue the planning committee, or is the motion that we abandon the planning committee?
I would suggest it's either or. We either have it or we don't. Councillor Timpey.
Yeah, could I make the observation that that's an awful lot of meetings, 22 meetings in the year. Are 2 a month absolutely critical? Do they have to happen? Could you actually make it so that it's sort of 1 a month or 1 every other month? Or I'm just really asking because I think that's what puts... I mean, there's no way I could fit in 22 more meetings.
I believe...
So otherwise I would be happy to...
I believe it's due to the timing in getting information back to Rother District Council because there's only a 3-week band, and if we only met once a month we would miss some of the time slots, which is why it was decided to meet every 2 weeks. So you're absolutely right, it is onerous, and that's probably one of the reasons why people aren't.
I think so.
And we can't halve it because if you make it 1 in 4 then it's pointless having it because the one you might want to object to something, you would miss. So you've either got to do it every 2 weeks or not. Councillor Glynn.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You're quite right, and the 21-day cycle is what Rother stick to. So we are virtually, by having our committee, we are the conduit for them, for the public to speak about planning issues to an advisory body, ourselves. We can pass them up to Rother. By doing away with the planning committee, you're losing that conduit. Albeit it's suggested it goes to full council, I can understand that. But we tend to have a little bit more time for people at planning so they can actually vent their spleen, speak about what they want to talk about, and come in numbers as well. And at the start of our planning committees, a couple of years back, we had quite a few people coming to us because there were lots of big major developments coming up. Those developments are now coming into fruition, so they're not at the planning stage at the moment. Once we do start getting some more developments come online, people will then start wanting to talk about the issues they have with planning, and we will not have an area for them to come to. So that's my only concern regarding that. We're failing to serve the public by being open to the public.
Councillor Jackson.
Is there a mechanism by which examples such as the one that Councillor Seven has just outlined, a large development which normally we're interested in, where we can have a special meeting and maybe on grounds of cost it doesn't need to be recorded, because I think that does constitute a valuable thing.
Okay. Councillor Goss.
I just wondered if there's any mechanism by which we could ask Rother to extend to 28 days or so, or monthly. I think the public gets 6 weeks to comment on any planning application. I just wondered why we only get 3.
I think I can simply answer that and say it's unlikely because they are the statutory body that look after planning and everyone else has to sit around that. Because there's parishes as well in Rother, we're just sort of the largest parish, if you like. Councillor Thomas.
The alternative is to keep that 2 week going, is to simply add the planning development, what we do, what we've done, onto all the other committees, because a lot of the time it doesn't take very long, but it could, occasionally, as Councillor Plymouth said, it can take quite a while, especially when there's some controversial developments like the Bellway up at Turkey Road.
So is there an option when residents write into our clerk about planning and want to come along and discuss it, we call that there and then, the clerk talks to the chairman and we have an extraordinary general meeting? Because that's 7 days, whereas that would still be within the time scale. So if there are important issues that crop up, that's another option, with the other things that we've got around individual councillors being responsible for their own wards, and then they call it in for their retrospective Rother District Councillor to call it into planning committee as well, because otherwise it wouldn't get heard at planning committee if you don't contact your Rother District Council. So we need to move on. We've got a lot on the agenda and this needs to be resolved. So I think the only option is to ask councillors to raise their hands to say A, who wants to keep the planning committee, and B, who wouldn't be displeased if it disappeared. So that's what I'm going to propose, unless anyone seriously objects to that. Right, all those who wish for the planning committee to remain, please show your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those who wish for it to be removed. 2, 3. So, okay, we stick with the planning committee. We can now revert back to, does the neighbourhood plan sit in the planning committee terms of reference? And we've got a second motion, which is that it sits under full council. So, have we got a seconder, if the chair of Climate and Nature, who wants to second that recommendation? Councillor Winter. Okay. Do we have any other motions that we want to discuss as to where the planning committee sits? Are we happy that it sits under planning? So just to be clear,
are we doing an option for
the one recommendation from the Climate and Nature Environment is that the responsibility of the neighbourhood plan is moved to the planning committee terms of reference, which means the neighbourhood plan comes under planning, even though we've already got an advisory committee set up. That blue box will literally slide underneath planning. We've got a proposal and a seconder for that. Councillor Jacklin.
So I thought you were saying that we have to choose between it being within planning or full council. Is it a choice?
At the moment, we've only got one recommendation.
Okay.
If you want to have a second recommendation, then it would have to be a motion to discuss it going to full council, then we'd vote on the two to see where it sits.
I think, Chair, we've got to discuss this motion first.
Yeah, I'm asking whether there's any other motions to see whether we can deal with the first one before we... Because otherwise, if you pass that one, you then can't have another motion. So you've got to give it fairness to make sure that everybody is happy. Otherwise, that will just get ruled out. If I vote on that with a proposer and seconder, then it won't fall. It will go through because there's nothing to as a counter.
I'd put forward a motion for it to be moved to under full council.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Brailsford. So we've now got two one decision to make as to whether it sits under full council or whether it sits under planning and development committee. Just to be clear, it's a lot of work. Are you sure you want it to go into full council? Because that could take up quite a chunk of the agenda, because it will be in effect a committee within a full council. It's very difficult to have a steering group advisory committee within a full council, because full council is above any committee structure. So I'm going to refer to the clerk. Can we do that or not?
It's entirely up to you. You know, you've had all your working groups, you've had all these discussions. We've moved it to C&E, to full council, to planning, back to C&E. You can move it back to planning if you like. It's entirely up to you.
Has it been in planning before?
Yeah, did it start in planning? I think it started in planning, then it moved to climate. Yeah, or the other way around. It's been around. It's been around the block.
Okay.
So this one has been moved from committee to committee, but we haven't started it yet.
Okay.
It's been moved around.
So because we've got two options that have been proposed and seconded, I've got to have a vote on it, and then that will decide, and that will be it for a year. So first one is to move neighbourhood plan into the planning committee, terms of reference. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. The easiest way is to say all those against, because those against will go for the second one. All those against? 1, 2. Okay. Do you want to do the second motion? Oh, that's quite clear, isn't it?
Is it a motion? Is it an amendment to that motion? Is it another motion?
It was a second motion.
Yeah, well,
All
it's
right.
up to you.
We'll vote on the second motion. All those in favour of moving it to...
Oh no, because that would
We don't
fall
want-
though.
Yeah.
So
because
if you've already voted to put it into planning,
yeah, it's
then
gone through that.
nothing
Yeah.
else will
So that's-
be voted, yeah?
Yeah, agreed. So it is moved to planning. So we now move on to item 10, which is to approve appointments of members to existing committees. Councillor Bransford.
Right, at this stage, I'd like to raise a point of order relating to when Councillor Gibson proposed a motion, Resolution 0038, which stated that in the interest of transparency, equality and equity, that the committees are made up of at least a third women. As we have subsequently restructured our committee arrangements, and on that basis, I would like to propose that this resolution is not applicable to our present committee structure. Furthermore, I would like to put forward a motion that due to a change in the committee system and the current formation of only 6 members per committee, I find the automatic delegation of 1/3 of these members being women to be unfair and undemocratic. Furthermore, as a woman and female councillor, I've worked hard to be where, well, we all have worked hard to be where we are, and I personally, and I think my colleagues will agree, don't feel a need to be given something or handed some membership status just because of our gender. So I'd like that to be resolved before we go through the voting.
Okay. If that's a motion, that would need a seconder. Councillor Winter. It's over the 6 months since that motion went through, so I don't see an issue with voting on that now. So all those in favour of removing the motion went through in September, please show your hands. All those against? All those abstaining? Thank you. That is carried. It does make a minor alteration to the paperwork that has been sent out with who, but we'll deal with that on a committee by committee basis. So the first one, which is 10A, is to agree the councillors to fulfil the 7 slots that are within the Planning and Development Committee, and I have clarified the number is 7, not 6. That's what is in the terms of reference. So, Councillor Pym.
Sorry, Chair, I might have missed my slot with this, but I further thoughts into this process. I've scribbled down in here earlier on before I got here. I'm very aware that we've got a number of double hatters within the organisation now, and if that increases over the years, we could end up with a system where we have a committee which is full of double hatters. Yeah. And so to ensure transparency and the public can see that we are independent of the district council, I would like to propose that we have a limit on the amount of double hatters sitting in any committee, and I propose it's 40%, which if it's in the case of, if we stick to 6 members on a committee, it'll be 2 members that are double hatters on that committee, any committee.
Okay. Does that have a seconder? Councillor Jacklin. I'm going to make an assumption that because there had been a previous restriction based upon gender, there is no reason why you can't put a restriction based upon alternative appointments outside of this town council. I struggle with 40% because it's a difficult number to commute easily with a structure of 7 again, if you've got 50% is difficult as well, because you can't cut one person in half. Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Chair. I take Councillor Plymouth's point as in that it applies to planning. I think that will be a absolutely prima facie case of conflict of interest. But for all committees, I don't see that there's necessarily a conflict of interest. I mean, I'm very aware that I'm speaking as one of the double hatters, so I'm very open to other councillors taking another point of view. But there are many committees where I think it could be an advantage for someone who's been party to the deliberations of Rother District Council, even though they may have voted against the District Council in some areas. So I like the idea of the limitation on planning. I don't see an automatic conflict of interest on the other committees. So I would like to see Councillor Plym's motion adopted for planning only.
Okay, you're asking for an amendment. Councillor Plym, how would you feel about that amendment?
No, as I suggested, it's 40% for all the committees. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We'll vote on the amendment and then back to the original motion.
I'm awfully new at this.
Well, that's what I suggested. That's the usual way forward, is to vote on the...
I have treacle under my feet.
Yeah.
So, Chair, the problem with planning is that 40% of 4 is 1.6, isn't it? It's 1, so it's not totally academic.
That's the trouble with percentages when you have a small number. Councillor Plym.
Yeah, I know 40% doesn't have to be direct 40%, but it shouldn't be anything more than 40%. So perhaps I should slightly adjust the word in to say no more than 40%, and that would probably sort of appease the mathematicians we have in the council.
I think if I can just give my opinion, because I can, I suppose, but district councillors do declare pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. So that deals with the transparency part, because our meetings are filmed. So if anybody doubts that district councillors are sitting here as town councillors and they behave in a district council way, it will become clear, and they have declared a pecuniary interest. So I'm not that concerned about transparency. I understand where Councillor Byrne's coming with planning, but the rest of it, district councillors who stand for a town council should have the same facilities as every other town council, and I'm concerned that it would seem that we might be singling out certain people to behave differently to other people. That's what it may look like, and I think we have to be fair and equitable to everyone, but that's not my call, that's for everybody's call here to make that. We've got a proposer, we've got a seconder. Councillor Al.
Could we say that if we've accepted these councillors onto Bexhill Town Council, and they are Bexhill Town councillors, then being double-hatted shouldn't really make a difference if they're Bexhill Town councillors at the end of the day?
That's why they declare the pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests.
They should be allowed to act as any other Bexhill Town councillor.
The issue I've got is that we've got a proposer and a seconder, so we have to deal with that as a vote, and if the vote says that we have to do that at a percentage, whatever is agreed, then that's what will be in place. Councillor Thomas.
Yes, well, I agree with what you said about pecuniary, but the problem is, of course, that the general public, they don't know who's declared a pecuniary interest.
So, I'm not disagreeing, but that is for them to understand that if they want to challenge what somebody is saying, and that could be explained to them if they were to ask the question. I could easily explain why a pecuniary interest is declared, and we should all be in that position. Councillor Jacklin.
My observations are correct. Finance and Audit is the only committee where Councillor Plym's proposals could have a material effect, because there are 3 Rother councillors there. So if Councillor Plym's motion isn't adopted, we could always adjust our votes accordingly for the Finance and Audit committee members.
The other option, of course, is no one objected to the percentage that was put through when it was gender related, which was a third. That might be more straightforward if Councillor Plym was agreed to amend it to a third, because then it's in effect the same as what it is was for gender as opposed to district councillors, but we'd have to make sure that people vote for it in the first place. Councillor Flynn.
I think the same issue would be if it's a third or a half or a fifth. It's still you splitting somebody down the middle, depending what the numbers are.
Yeah.
This is purely for future. It's not an issue at the moment. It's not an issue, but it could possibly be an issue as we go forward, as the years go on. And we ended up. I remember as the council was being formed, people were saying, "Oh, it's just become a mini rather district council because all the district councillors will sit on the town council." That is the danger we could have. We could not be independent, and so this is a way of securing our independence within the political structure.
Okay. In which case, if it isn't a problem now, why have we got a motion to make a decision over something that isn't a problem? Would be my question.
Safeguarding to ensure that it doesn't become a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I came from Medway, I don't know whether people have ever bothered or heard of pecuniary interest, but the amount of dodgy business that went on there, yes, we don't want to see that here. We haven't got it now, and as Councillor Plymouth has already said, we don't want to see it in the future, and anything we can do to obviate the possibility we should do.
I'll take one more, then I'm going to go to a vote. Councillor Carroll.
Thank you, Chair.
Good evening.
Good evening, and apologies to both chairs and old chairs. And apologies. I'd like to back up Councillor Plym on this. If we need to safeguard, to say it's not a problem now doesn't mean it'll be a problem next year when we resit full councils. At the moment, we've lost, I believe, 3 councillors this year so far through resignations. Nothing says that won't happen next year. Eventually, you could possibly have a Rother Town Council and a Rother District Council.
Yeah.
And it needs to be safeguarded, and I think sooner rather than later.
Right. I'm now going to go to a vote because I think I've given enough time on this. We've got a proposal, we've got a seconder. All those in favour of putting a restriction of 40%, presumably it'd be round down rather than round up, into each committee from now, all raise their hands in favour of that, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank you. All those against that? 1, 2, 3, 4 against. So that is carried. Okay. So we'll now move on to the item 10, which is to approve the appointment of members to the committees, and the first one is Planning and Development Committee. We have Councillor Plym, Councillor Thomas and Councillor Winter to fill 3 of the 7 vacancies. Tonight we've had Councillor Crotty put his name down, but he's not here to be, he's left. So can he still be considered for that committee?
If he has a seconder and you vote.
Okay. So do we do it individually? By councillor? I'll do it individually. All those in favour of accepting Councillor Plym to be on the Planning Committee, Development Committee, all show their hands, please. Unanimous, so I won't ask for anyone against. All those in favour of Alan Thomas to be on the committee, all those in favour? Thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Winter being on the Planning Committee? Unanimous. All those in favour of Councillor Crotty being on the... Oh, I need a second of a Councillor Crotty as he's not here. Councillor Hussain is seconding it, so we can now say all those in favour of Councillor Crotty being on the Planning and Development, show your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those against, and 2 against. So Councillor Crotty, 3 against. So Councillor Crotty is elected onto the Planning and Development Committee. Moving on to item 11, which is the next 3 committees, the first being the Finance and Audit Committee. So bearing in mind that we've removed the agenda motion, I'm also going to make another decision that I'm going to withdraw myself from being on that committee. Just so you know, I was chair, and I think now you kindly elected me chair of this, I think it would be wrong if I was to end up back as chair of the finance, because it's not really the right thing to do. So I would like to remove my name, which that leaves 5 others to fill well, there's 7 to fill 6 slots. So the people that are nominated, current or have put their name forward, are Councillor Brailsford, Councillor Timku, Councillor L, Councillor Drayson, Councillor Ruston, Councillor Winter, Councillor Hussain. That is 7 names for 6 slots. Councillor Flynn.
Yes, Chair. Is it not beyond the realms of possibility that we agree all 7 members and have 7 members on this committee, seeing as there's 7 people want to be on there? It seems a bit sort of harsh to sort of strike one person off.
Precedent has been set to that because last year's AGM we increased, I think it was the asset transfer from 6 to 9, but that would need a proposal. So if somebody wants to propose that,
I will propose that.
do we have a seconder to that? Councillor Byrne went up first. Okay. All those in favour of increasing, bearing in mind an odd number means the chair won't have a casting vote if there's anything to be voted upon, so you need to be aware of that. All those in favour of increasing the number from 6 to 7 show their hands. That is unanimous. There is now 7. So now I just need to go through name by name to... in fact, I can't go through name by name because 2 are not here. Do one block.
Just because someone isn't here doesn't mean you can't
Okay.
vote for them. So they do exactly the same vote whether someone's here or not. The reason why you needed a seconder for Councillor Crotty is because he didn't put his name down at the beginning to be on the committee. So he hadn't been through the usual process. So you weren't doing a seconder because he wasn't here, you were doing it because he wasn't part of the original process of nomination.
Understand. So we'll go through show of hands. All those in favour of accepting Councillor Brailsford onto the Finance and Audit Committee, please show their hands. Unanimous? All those in favour of Councillor Timothy in Finance and Audit Committee? All those against? Did you raise your hand, Councillor Hampton? I didn't see your hand. Are you abstaining?
Yes.
One abstention. All those in favour of Councillor L for Finance and unanimous? All those in favour of Councillor Drayson? Unanimous. All those in favour of Councillor Ruston? Unanimous. This is going well. All those in favour of Councillor Winter? Unanimous. And all those in favour of Councillor Hussain? Unanimous. That's now the 7 members of the Finance and Audit Committee. Congratulations to you all. The easiest committee of all is the Engagement and Communications Committee, because there are 6 places there and 6 councillors have applied for it. So we're just going to go through the same motion of accepting each one onto the committee. So all those in favour of Councillor Blagrove onto the Engagement and Communications Committee, please show your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All those against? Abstentions? Okay. That's carried. Councillor Byrne on the Engagement and Communications Committee. All those in favour? Unanimous. Councillor Pym on Engagement and Communications Committee. Unanimous. Councillor Winter on... I'm not going to repeat it again. Unanimous. Councillor Hussain. Unanimous. Councillor Thomas. Unanimous. Congratulations, you 6 are now on the Engagement and Communications Committee. The Amenities Committee is somewhat harder because we've now got a little bit of strikeout voting to go. So bearing in mind Councillor Hussain has just said to me that he's going to remove himself from this committee. So that leaves us with... I'm writing as quick as I can. There are 10 for 6 places. Councillor Jacklin.
Could I propose a Plym amendment to this one that we accept 7 people, given the number of people who want to be involved?
Okay. So we have 3 too many within the Amenities Committee. I'm going to ask all those that are here. Oh, sorry. We have to have a seconder to that proposal. Councillor Plym. and a vote on that. Do we all agree to upping the number to 7 for the Amenities Committee? Please show your hand. Yes, that is agreed. You're not agreeing these two put down. No, okay. So we've now upped that to 7, and we have 10 people who wish to stand in the Amenities Committee. Losing my voice. So we will go through the strikeout vote process. We will understand the strikeout vote? Right. So we'll start at the top name. All those in favour of Councillor Byrne on the Amenities Committee, please show your hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those in favour of Councillor L on the Amenities Committee. 13. All those in favour of Councillor Goss on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All those in favour of Councillor Pym on the Amenities Committee. 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 13. All those in favour of Councillor Ruston on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All those in favour of Councillor Thomas on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2. All those in favour of Councillor Wilson being on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those in favour of Councillor Blagrove on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those in favour of Councillor Brailsford being on the Amenities Committee. 11. All those in favour of Councillor Timpey being on the Amenities Committee. 5. So do we remove the lowest scorer? So the lowest scorer from that round of voting is Councillor Thomas. So we now carry on, because we have to remove 3 from the 10. So we're now down to 9 that wish to be on this committee. So we start again. All those in favour of Councillor Byrne being on the Amenities Committee, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Councillor L, all raise your hands if you're in favour of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Councillor Goss, all raise your hands, please. 1, 2. Is your hand up, Councillor L? Yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Councillor Pym, show your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. Councillor Ruston. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. Me. All those in favour of me being on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those in favour of Councillor Blagrove being on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2, 4, 5. All those in favour of Councillor Brailsford being on the Amenities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. And finally, all those in favour of Councillor Timpey being on the Amenities Committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, the person that, there's 2 people that have the lowest number of votes in that round of voting, which is Councillor Baygrove and Councillor Timpey, both with 5. They both fall out. So those are both fallen out, and that leaves us with the 7, which is Councillor Byrne, Councillor Al, Councillor Goss, Councillor Flynn, Councillor Ruston, Councillor Wilson, and Councillor Brailsford. They are the 7 that we've elected onto the Amenities Committee. Okay. So we move on to item 12, which is to review and adopt appropriate standing orders and financial regulations which were distributed under Appendix I and G. Unless anybody has any strong wish to talk about those standing orders and financial regulations, they've been in place for several years and have been robust enough. It is just a vote that we accept them, unless anybody wishes to say anything about them. I'm looking to the floor. Count down 3, 2, 1. Okay, proposer and seconder to accept those standing orders and financial regulations. Councillor Brailsford and Councillor Pym. All those in favour of accepting those financial regulations, show your hand. That is unanimous for those to be accepted. Item 13, to review arrangements including legal agreements with local authorities, not-for-profit bodies and businesses. And there was a link on the agenda for everybody to go and look at those and see whether they have any issues, or whether we just continue them on for further 12 months, is it? For a further 12 months. So does anybody have any issues they would like to discuss on those subjects, bearing in mind that the David Dennis Year 1 and Year 2 have already been agreed? That's just to prove that they are there. Councillor Brailsford.
Can I ask for clarification, because I'm not quite sure of the company that's recording this. I couldn't see their name on here. Am I right or have I missed out? I don't know the company name. Should that be on the list?
That's a very good question that I don't know the answer.
Yeah, sure. We haven't completely signed the contract yet, so I can't publish it until it's
that's
signed.
good. Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Absolutely fine. Yeah. So okay, that's good.
So that will be coming up through the signing off
Fine.
of the contract.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or observations? Otherwise, I'm going to one block ask for a proposer and a seconder to move on. Count down 3, 2, 1. I need a proposer and a seconder to move those arrangements for another 12 months. Councillor Timpey, are you proposing or?
Proposing,
yeah. Seconder, Councillor Prim. All those in favour, show your hands, please. That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Item 14, to review representation on or work with external bodies, arrangements and reporting back. We discuss these every time, at every full council meeting. Does anybody wish to raise anything under that? Otherwise, I would again just suggest that if there are others, they would have come up during the course of the year. Councillor Pym.
Just to point out, Chair, that the Mayor is required to sit on the Bexhill Air Cadet Squadron, and I'm sure they look forward to meeting you at their next meeting.
I do hope you don't mean sit on them. I would be more than happy to fulfil that role.
Through you, Chair. Ralph advised you can only have one representative. So when we decided Ralph reps, when you can only have one go to the meeting, just so.
Okay.
So that's at this point here.
And we've decided
So
the
you
reps.
decide who your reps are, but just for noting that can only do one now.
Okay. So we have 2 reps for Ralph. Our class is quite light, so we will only be able to have one in the future. As I'm one of them, I'm quite happy to step down as Ralph. I've been joined recently by Councillor Jacqueline, who's represented the town very well and understands it all. So unless anybody else wants to do the Ralph representation. So I would propose that we accept that Councillor Jacqueline carries on in the role of Ralph, if there's a seconder to that. Any one of about 4. Okay, all those in favour? Well done. Citizens' advice, I believe that is Councillor Byrne. Is that right?
It is.
Any other nominations to be external representative for citizens' advice? Okay. Proposer and seconder for Councillor Byrne. Councillor Brailsford, Councillor Goss. All those in favour? I've made a massive assumption that you're happy to carry that on.
Yes.
Okay, passed. It sounds like we don't have to do anything with the Bexhill Air Cadet Squadron if the Mayor has to do it. So Bexhill Maritime, our current representative is, I believe, Councillor Timpey. Need a proposer and a seconder, and if there's anyone else, or proposer Councillor L, seconder Councillor Hussain. All those in favour of Councillor Timpey carrying on in that role? Carried. Littlegate Farm. I'm not sure who is our representative. Councillor Jacklin. Proposer and a seconder. Again, making the assumption that Councillor Jacklin wants to carry that on. Proposer and a seconder for Councillor Jacklin. Councillor Goss and Councillor Brailsford. All those in favour? Carried. Devolved Services meeting with parishes and Rother District Council members. This is the one that was held, I think, called by Battle Town Council. Rye Town Council, which I believe Councillor Brailsford and Councillor Plym went to the first and so far only one. So that's the current representation. Presuming you're happy to carry on.
Yeah.
Proposer and seconder, I'll take them as a pair if you like. Councillor Thomas and Councillor Goss. All those in favour? Oh yeah, sorry.
Could I add myself to that if either of you can't go to it? So go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the backup would be Councillor Hussain if Councillor Pym and Councillor Brailsford can't go. Happy with that? All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried. So item 15 is to review inventory of land and other assets, including buildings and office equipment.
Chair.
Oh, sorry, G. To approve the reporting back procedure continues with members sending notes to the town clerk at least 3 days prior to full council meeting. I'm presuming that relates to the representation that they're making. They've got to send it to you 3 days before full council.
There's a policy that exists, Chair, which is on the website and
Okay.
we've agreed before. So yeah, the main point is that all reports have to be provided before the meeting, so they can go onto the website as part of the agenda pack.
Okay. So we need that approved. So proposer and seconder.
Just a point, I'd like to apologise for not having written a report on CAB, but I was in Spain for 3 weeks and got back yesterday, so haven't had time to do it. But I'd be quite happy. There are some. Well, there is a paragraph I would otherwise have reported, which I'd be happy to send to the clerk, unless, of course, it wouldn't really be part of these minutes. So I'll ask the clerk if she would want a report or not.
I think include it in the next meeting.
Okay.
Because I remember what you said, it's verbalised and it is on the recording, so if people wanted to, they could go and find it. But add it into your next report.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So I need that approved. So proposer and seconder to approve that, please. Councillor Jacklin is approving, proposing, seconding is Councillor Brailsford. All those in favour? Passed. Item 15, to review inventory of land and other assets, including buildings and office equipment. The list was sent out. All happy with that?
Can I ask, is this used for insurance purposes as well?
I don't know. I'll ask the clerk.
Through you, Chair. No, this is the list of assets for your annual governance return. This is for your assets, the value of which you obtained them, not an insurance value.
Okay, right. It was just that there's an awful lot going for a house.
Okay, through you, Chair. So when you complete the annual governance return, if you have an item that you take into ownership and you don't know what the value of it was, or it was passed to you for free, you must put a nominal value of £1 in for the auditor. So all of the things that are shown as £1 are things that were given to you. So it's not an insurance value, it's a value for the AGAR, which we'll have a look at the next meeting.
Okay. Just on the Collington Lane East Grip bin, it's got 352. In the CNE report, it says 423, I think.
That's probably after VAT, I expect. That will be after VAT, the 352. CNE report will include that. I've got a question. I've seen a photograph of Bexhill back in, I think, 1892, when there was an award of what was called the Bexhill Key. And I note on here somewhere that there is mention of the Bexhill Key, that it does exist. Do we actually have it?
All of these items are currently held in the town hall.
Okay, so there is such a thing as a Bexhill Key. Maybe we should look to resurrect the issuing of a key to somebody, because it used to happen back in the 1800s. I wasn't here then, but I've seen photographic evidence, and I haven't seen that list. There is a key. Councillor Flynn.
I think you're referring to the two keys that are in the case in the town hall, one of which is the key to the post office, which was inaugurally opened in 1921, and the other is the key to Egerton Park.
Yeah.
Both silver-plated keys, and they're on display in the town hall.
So the key was
never given away as a process.
The key was presented to somebody. It didn't say on the photograph in 1870 or 92. So something to think about. Okay. So we're all happy with that. Proposer and seconder to accept that list, please. Proposer Councillor Burns, seconder Councillor Timpey. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 16, to confirm arrangements for insurance cover in respect of all insurable risks. That should be quite straightforward. We pay the insurance and it should be just say, but I need it to be approved, obviously, because this is the annual general meeting. So, need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed Councillor Goss, seconded Councillor Timpey. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 17, to review council and or staff subscriptions to other bodies. That is ESALC, RALC, NALC, and B is the National Allotment Society. I'll take the first one first. There is a slight issue in RALC that we will have to pay more money than what we've ever done before for something called geosphere mapping, which is in effect an ordnance survey where you can map your area as to what you've got asset-wise, and it's going up significantly. And I can't remember the exact number. I think it's about £600 a year. Under my finance hat, I have spoken to our clerk, and if we didn't have it through RALC and paid them £600, if we did it direct through the company, it would be more than that. So even though it has gone up significantly, it is still cheaper than the town council doing it on their own.
Is that needed every year?
It's ongoing. It's a method of mapping your assets.
Yeah.
So as we move forward, there will be an online map where Bexhill Town Council's all their assets that they are. So as we grow, you can put grip bins, bus stops, CCTV, everything on there, so everyone will be able to see what's there. And our clerk does use it significantly. So, and we have to trust our clerk. Her words were, "Please don't take it away. My job would be so much harder without it." So I would say, why would we take it away? Okay? So do we still want to be a member of ESALC, RALC and NALC? If we want to remain members, we have to propose and second it. This is to propose and second. Propose to still be member, Councillor L, seconding Councillor Plym. All those in favour? Carried. All those against? 2 against. Carried. Item 18, to review the council complaints procedure, which was issued under Appendix L.
I think you missed the allotment society.
Oh yes, thank you. 17B, to remain a member of the other body, the National Allotment Society. I need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor Plym. Do we have a seconder? Councillor L. All those in favour of remaining? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those against? Abstentions? Carried. Item 18, to review council complaints procedure, distributed as Appendix L. Any comments? A proposer and a seconder, please. Proposed Councillor Sain, second Councillor Glynn.
Could I just raise one point in it?
Yeah.
According to this complaint to the monitoring officer at Tunbridge and Malling District Council,
Yep.
I don't think that.
That will be amended. It's purely down to administrative time to be able to amend things like that. But the principle is the same as the district council. Yeah. So, all those in favour? All those against? Abstentions? 2 against and no abstentions, so carried. To review our council's policies, procedures and practices in respect to its obligations under Freedom of Information and Data Protection legislation, which were sent out with a link in the agenda. Any comments? Otherwise, it's a proposer and a seconder. A proposer to accept that. Councillor Plim, a seconder. Councillor Brailsford. All those in favour of accepting that? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Review of the Council's policy for dealing with the press and media, which was Appendix M. Any comments? Okay, need a proposer and a seconder, please. Proposer, Councillor Brailsford, seconder, Councillor Plim. All those in favour of accepting that? All those against? Carried. Number 21, review of the Council's employment policies and procedures as prescribed by the link in the agenda. Any comments? All those in proposer? Councillor Plim, seconder. Councillor L, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 22, review of the Council's expenditure incurred under Section 137 of the Local Government Act 1972 or the General Power of Competence, and that can be found under the Transparency Code link that was in the agenda. Any comments? Need a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor Plim, seconded by Councillor Timpey. All those in favour of accepting that? Thank you. All those against? That's carried. 23. Determining the time and place of ordinary meetings of the Council up to and including the next annual meeting of the Council, which is Appendix N. As issued. Comments?
Yes, Chair. One point I'd like to make is that now that we have established that we've still got a planning meeting, and we do realise that some of those meetings do carry through quite swiftly, and quite often we're sort of the points that you made earlier on about the people waiting for the next meeting to start.
Yeah.
Could I propose that that upon the rising of the planning meeting, whichever meeting next, they meet. So if they're due to meet at 6:30, but the planning meeting finishes at 6:15 or 6:10, that next meeting starts at that time. That will ensure that people are here for the start of the planning meeting, so they'll be able to see a planning meeting take place. Might raise a few interests. It will also mean that the rest of the evening swiftly moves along. I just thought that might be a helpful process.
I'd need a seconder of that, and then I'll go to a second by Councillor Winter. Discussion. Councillor Thomas, did you want to talk about it?
Yes, sir. Really, that the public just need to know what time the next meetings start, so we just need to put in the agenda an indeterminate time.
So that's what Councillor Pym is saying. By the definition of by the rise is when the first meeting finishes, the next one starts. So that's what that means. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will keep the momentum of the meeting going, but also reduce cost in staff time by reducing hours, and people who have further to travel will be done. And that 15 minutes of dead time will just be kept momentum going. So yeah. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. That's 2023. So I need a seconder for that. I will have a seconder for that. Councillor Jacqueline.
So can I just clarify, that means that at the next full council meeting, your meeting will start, we have to turn up, and I can't put it any other way, hang around whilst you do your meeting, as do the members of the public, before we can start our meeting and members of the public can participate.
That is what the proposer and the seconder are saying, yes. Everybody has to turn up in case the meeting only finishes after 5 minutes.
Okay.
Councillor Prim.
I can understand that would be the negative view of seeing that. The positive view was that you'll be there at a planning meeting and hopefully sort of see what goes on at a planning meeting, and members of the public might, other members of the council might take an interest and become and come on board with that planning meeting, seeing as we've got several vacancies taking place there. Before we actually put it to vote, I'd just like to ask the clerk whether she feels that would be a feasible option to take, because if the clerk doesn't feel it's feasible, then I'm willing to withdraw.
I'll ask the clerk. Is that feasible?
I'm not elected, clearly, so the pros and cons are just that. The pros are quite often there is not enough of a quorum to have planning meetings, so we sit here for half an hour and wait for you all to arrive, or the meeting lasts 3 to 4 minutes, and then we have to wait till you all arrive. So the pros are we won't be sitting around waiting for half an hour because the planning committee's ended. The cons are you've all got to turn up because you don't know when that planning committee's going to end, and if it ends after 3 minutes, you can start, but if it takes half an hour, then you've got to sit outside and wait for half an hour before we start. So it's got pros and cons.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Blakely.
I was just wondering what happens to people that, and there are people that work and can't get here till 6 o'clock, let's say, and that is if they have to get to the earlier meeting, which they have maybe no interest in whatsoever. I don't think that really works.
No. Councillor Zane.
I completely understand that, but saying that with planning, it's very rare that it does go to 6:30. So it'd be a very rare case if it does. So yeah, I think 90% of the time you'll be starting at 6:10 as the next meeting.
I think it's just a bit obscure. I think if you are trying to get here for full council, you've got a plan to get there at that time, but then you've got to think, well, I better go to that other meeting before. It wouldn't work for me. I'm just speaking for myself, but that wouldn't work for me.
Councillor Bransford.
Yeah, reflecting what Councillor Blagrove said, I don't know what the protocol is, but would it be more practical on that basis to move public participation law to the end of a meeting? Or is that not legally right? And then if you know a meeting's going to be that evening at such and such a time, you've got time to arrive and put your points of view across.
I think that's a separate issue. This is about whether it's on the rise of the finishing of the planning committee. The issue I see is that our clerk sends out the summons to just members of the planning committee, so all the other councillors wouldn't be summoned to get there because they're not on that committee. So you'd have to remember to put it into your calendar, etc., etc. So, Councillor Al.
Also, I believe, I don't think it is before the full council meeting. I believe it's before the finance and audit meetings, if that's correct.
I think it's some and some. It depends on which one it falls.
We've got some.
Yeah. Councillor Pym.
Yeah, just to point out that it isn't something that's something I've just made up. It's something that happens quite regularly in councils up and down the country, just to ensure smooth running of meetings. It's up to us whether we wish to go with that or not. I'm just putting it out there as a possibility.
I'll have one more, Councillor Byrne, and then I'll go to the vote, because
I think it's important that with something like a full council meeting, it starts when it says it will start, and I think people need to know that is when it will start. I take Councillor Bragrove's point on that if it suddenly starts 20 minutes early, you may well end up starting without certain councillors. And it's very difficult to sort of say, well, I need to be there at 6. Oh, actually, I might need to be there earlier or later. For any other meeting, no problem. But I think for something like a full council meeting, it should start when it says it will start.
it will also be more administration for our clerk, because when people arrive late, she's got to type in there that councillor so-and-so has arrived late. So that could create more work. But we have a motion on the table. which is to start meetings that fall after the planning meeting to start on the rise of, in other words, when the planning meeting finishes, meaning that all councillors would have to be here probably inside 5 minutes of the start of the planning committee meeting, potentially. So we've got a proposer, we've got a seconder. So it's a show of hands. All those in favour of putting that in place, please show your hands. 1, 2. All those against. That motion has fallen. So we will leave the timings as they were before and revert back to determining the time and place of ordinary meetings of the council, up to including which our clerk has kindly sent out the spreadsheet, which is Appendix N. So I therefore need that proposer and the seconder to accept that. Proposed by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Brailsford. All those in favour of accepting that, please show your hands. That's carried unanimously. We now, after quite a long period of time, move into what is classified as public participation. It is this far into, because it's our annual general meeting, I'm talking now to the members of the public, because we have certain things that we have to do in the annual general meeting, and then we move on to members of the public. Yes, Councillor Hollidge, you are a member of the public as well. So, you've all been here before, I'm not going to read it out. Do you wish to speak as the three of you, members of the public, as opposed to your councillor roles, because you have a slot where you can use? Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry. Right, so item 25, you should have all received the excellent report from our town mayor. That was sent out recently. Thank you for that. That's just for noting. Item 26, reports from councillors who have 3 minutes, and I'll start with district county councillors. We've had a written report, but we're fortunate to have actually one of the, divisional county councillors are first. So Councillor Hollidge, you have 3 minutes if you wish.
Right, I'd just like to thank all the town councillors. Congratulations to the chair and the vice chair for being here. Look forward to working with you for a year. I'd like to thank the town council for the work that you've done with the Flexibus. In terms of East Sussex, it's going really well. It's improving. The service is changing and adapting and evolving. But people can, in the town centre now, book a Flexibus to the Congress Hospital, and it's reaching out at different destinations. So that's working very well. The other thing I spoke about last time was the fostering, where we have issues trying to recruit, maintain, and then you might go through the process, which is long, where you get foster parents. So we have got a lot more applications there, which is good. So if you've played a role in that, thank you very much. Something else that's very important that at East Sussex have got funding for, £1 million from DLUC money. As we know, DLUC are throwing money around, and we've got lots of them to decide what to do with. But what we've done with it is the Careers East Sussex. And if you know anybody, whatever stage that they are in life, whether they're leaving school, college, change of career, we've got this funding that's gone forward, and there are courses that are available that are funded through the government. But it's not just one sector. Construction and engineering is the main structure, but it does cover every aspect of work and employment. And as we all know, if you can give somebody a job and a purpose in life, then that gives them a role in life, and there's, as we say in Japanese, their ikigai, the reason to get up in the morning. So that's something that we've got funding for. Please, I've given the cards out to the East Sussex, to the Town Council. But it's the Careers Hub, it's East Sussex Skills, so it's about apprenticeships, skills, education. But please, if somebody says, or you see somebody that could do it with a bit of direction, please point them in this direction for East Sussex Skills. Now, if anybody wants to ask any questions about sinkholes, potholes or parking.
Love to know. Regrettably, we're not able to ask you questions, you just have your 3 minutes.
I'm offering myself
after the meeting. We know how to get hold of you.
I'm trying my best with the sinkholes that you know about.
Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah, it's just tools.
Thank you very much.
Not smaller that came on.
Cheers.
Okay.
All right, thank you, that's it.
Thank you. I move on to Ward District Councillors, we're joined tonight. Do you have anything you wish to say to us?
Yes.
Excellent. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay. So, just for those who don't know me, I'm Councillor Gareth Delaney for Pepsham. I've sent a written update into the clerk. It was after the deadline, so I don't think it will be in the pack you've got, but I hope you'll be able to send that around to you, so I won't go through it. But I just wanted to highlight one item in it that is now a sort of direct responsibility of the Town Council. I have a bus shelter on the Hastings Road. It opposite 3rd Avenue. It is an excellent example of a sort of interwar bus shelter. I've been talking to Steve Johnson from Bexhill Heritage about possibly restoring this shelter. It's in pretty good condition. It doesn't need a lot of work. They're hoping to combine it with the work that they're going to be doing with the shelter on Delaware Road. So I believe this will need to go to your new amenities committee.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm just highlighting this is a sort of an exciting little project for Pepsham. We would be very happy to come along and assist with the discussions around that committee, if that was helpful. And that's that.
I would suggest that either yourself or the Bexhill Heritage writes to our clerk and it will get on the agenda. I'd like to think nothing would happen before anybody does anything to one of the bus stops we're responsible to, but clearly we have a lot of work to do with bus stops, so I'm sure the Amenities Committee would be more than happy to talk with you. Thank you. Okay. To receive any ward reports from town councillors, does anybody wish to report anything? Okay. So I'm going to do something that I forgot to do earlier, which really should come under the Mayor's office. And I know I've only been the chair for an hour or so, but the 3 previous chairs have chosen not to do something that I am going to choose to do. And I am going to choose to have a nominated charity for my year of tenure. And I thought long and hard about who that would be, and it was down to 2, which is a motorcycle company who collect blood and drive blood around on their bikes to hospitals. And that is a bigger organisation. And I've chosen one more local, and I'm going to choose Sidley Cricket Club. The reason I'm choosing Sidley Cricket Club is because Rother District Council have supported them in St Mary's Lane to get them re-established after losing the cricket at Gulliver's for the town. And by the way, they don't know about this, so if they see this on video, they'll be surprised. They have established themselves. They are starting their season in St Mary's Recreation Ground under a lease from Rother, but they have a massive project that they have to raise £600,000. Yes, £600,000, and we've got a lot of money coming into the town, so if through my spreading the name and having it on my literature wherever I email that my charity is Sidley Cricket Club and their new pavilion, I hope that that may give them a few extra pounds. So I wanted to say that earlier and I was remiss to forget. So that is who I'm going to be supporting this year.
Well done, thank you.
Excellent.
So moving on to Rother District Council Liaison, item 27A. To note update from the Town Centre Visioning Group, which Councillor Brailsford has issued. And also to note the leaders' meeting, which was held on the 12th of April, which Councillor Brailsford and myself attended. Have we updated the council on that, Councillor Brailsford?
That's extracted some items from the minutes of that meeting.
Okay.
And what I've got on my notes here are Blind Gap Roundabout. Councillor Brailsford will find a suitable design for the sculpture and contact Councillor Tempe with full details for Highways England. The second one I've got on my list is devolution of public toilets. Next steps with devolution. I asked what was happening with the toilets which had not been mentioned on RDC's website, such as Sidley, Little Common and Coodensea Road, etc. Rother District Council has had interest from other commercial sources and are looking into progressing the Protecting Discretionary Services strategy by disposing or repurposing assets if the town council is not interested in taking on the leases. And this has been outdated now, but I requested Rother District Council to reconfirm the next steps of their strategy in writing, and at that time I said as soon as we received their written response to what their strategy is, I would then call an extraordinary meeting of Bexhill-on-Sea full council to debate Rother District Council's intentions and bring the issue to a conclusion by asking for a final vote from all councillors. But that's just what was on my notes in the meeting on the 12th of April, and parks and open spaces were not discussed. So that's all the feedback I've got from that.
That's a fair summary. I've got the minutes here, and the rest was just updating on what Rother are doing, which is all in the public domain. The only other thing I would say is that Councillor Oliver offered to and sent me the report from the National Audit Committee, if that's the right name, to do with North Eye, which Councillor Jacqueline has already mentioned that in the last, but if anybody does want to see it, I have the full copy of it. It's 76 pages, it's really interesting reading, and it doesn't mention Bexhill in it anywhere. So read into that what you wish, but it mentions the other 3 sites in this country, and the overview is, as Councillor Jacqueline said, it is cheaper to put people in hotels than revamp lots of different sites. So that's from the National Audit Office. But so if anybody wants it, I have it saved. So if you email me, I'll send it to you. I don't see there's a lot of point in occupying email addresses with massive documents. That's the only thing I'll add to it. So, okay. So moving on.
Sorry, Chair. Just a question I have of Councillor Brailsford there. You mentioned your update on the Town Centre Visioning Group, and that within your notes here it says that a working group will be set up, Town Centre Working Group members. Have we appointed anyone to that group yet, and would it be wise to appoint someone to that group at this meeting rather than wait for that meeting to happen, which will be, I believe it's due to meet on the 20th of June, it's before our next council meeting.
I don't understand the setup of the Town Centre Working Group. I don't know who chairs it or how you get invited. I know Councillor Brailsford was invited as the then chair of Bexhill Town Council, I believe, but I don't know who runs it, so it's very difficult for us to elect somebody onto somewhere without being asked, is it?
Yes, I think I was put on that group as I was mayor.
Yeah.
There wasn't a voting situation, so I'm not sure whether the Blind Gap project would be anything relevant to that at all.
I wasn't suggesting it was.
Sorry,
no, I was just talking about this Town Centre Working Group, whether it's going to continue the same. Is the mayor going to take that role, or do we have to appoint someone to that?
I think we'll seek clarity.
Yeah,
okay. Right,
yeah.
thank you.
Well, once I can update them as to what's happened tonight, then the situation might change.
We'll seek clarity.
Yeah.
Councillor Jacqueline.
Could I just clarify my understanding of Councillor Brailsford's report with respect to the toilets? Are you saying that Rother may, for example, sell the local common toilets such that they would no longer be toilets?
Well, there was talk about that, but I said we can't react to it until we've got it in writing. When we've got it in writing, then we can, well, at the time, obviously it hasn't come through yet, but if we do get confirmation of their strategy, then I think we should...
If I can add to that, Rother appointed an estates manager in March, and he's going round reviewing all of their assets, and that's everything that they are responsible for, and I suspect nothing will happen until that package is built for them to be able to decide what happens. So we have made it clear the ball is in the court of Rother District Council. The decision's been made here. It was just informational that they have an estates manager now who is going around reviewing all of their assets, including toilets, to see whether they're getting value for money, and that can mean whatever you want it to mean. But that was what we were advised. So it will be an evolving stage, I suspect. Okay, happy with that, Councillor Prim? Yeah. So 28, Sussex Police Liaison, to note any updates. Are there any updates? There are no updates. 29, North Eye Asylum proposal. to receive any updates. Is there any update? There is no update. I'm conscious that the Town Council were going to have a meeting by the end of January, but there's no point until we have any further, and then we'll decide.
I think that was superseded by the MP having a meeting.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
His council has no information at all.
Yeah. Okay. Item 30, St Leonard's Road Greening Project. To receive any updates. I have a question. Oh.
Sorry, they're having a meeting this evening, which Councillor Pym and Byrne and I obviously couldn't go to, so we'll get an update, I guess.
Okay.
I was there if you want an update.
Oh, well done.
I'm afraid I can't accept it from a member of the public and an alternative council. Yes. Okay. I do wonder why this is the St Leonard's Road Greening Project is on our agenda, because it's not a Bexhill Town Council. So should it not be, if we've got representatives involved in it, shouldn't it be somewhere else rather than heading on its own? Because we haven't set it up. It's been created by residents, run by somebody else, but so it's not really an agenda item for us, is it? Councillor Bloom.
At the moment, it came up as an awareness for what residents are doing within the town centre, and they haven't established themselves to actually come to us for anything at the moment. And it was unsure as to what committee it will go into because they haven't come to us. So it was just keeping us aware of what was going on. No doubt something may have happened today, in which case at our next full council we might be able to report back on it. So I would appreciate if we could keep it on there until the next full council.
We have lots of other projects in this town, like the Sea project, where they're doing a massive piece of work there, and that's not on our agenda. I'm intrigued as to why that's on there as an agenda item with one project when there's lots of projects in the town. Councillor Byrne.
Yeah, on that subject, we were part of it because it's in our ward.
Yeah.
So it could be dealt with if there are any updates that would be of interest to the town council. It could be dealt with under the agenda item of reports from ward councillors. So it wouldn't need to be an item in its own right, and therefore would only raise its head when there was something of interest to other town councillors.
Or they could go through a committee structure and raise it through a committee.
I think just a straightforward report in the same way as various councillors report on bodies that they're,
Councillor Jacqueline.
Could I put a motion forward that we remove it from the agenda and report as Councillor Byrne is suggesting?
Yeah. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Byrne. All those in favour? All those against? One against. Two against. Sorry, Councillor Timpey. Two against. So we'll remove it from future agendas, but pick it up in an alternative way. Item 31, accessible play park for Pepsham. To note, procurement is underway. So that's good news. Item 32, this was deferred to this meeting because Councillor Hussain was not available. So the floor is yours to talk about crazy golf and putting green.
So I've had a thought with this. I spoke to a few people with it. I think the whole point of it was that we had a trial, and then we, if it went well and people enjoyed it and we got a footfall, that we would look into maybe actually building crazy golf on the seafront, similar to Hastings. But I think we've gone to just doing this, and maybe Robert won't give us the land to do that the year after. So it's a little bit pointless unless we get something back from Rother to say that that they will allow us to do this a year after to actually build if it's a success.
So you're asking for an in principle long-term lease for that area if it is successful?
Yes, so to ask Rother if they would do that, and if they had not, then they'd have a look at not doing it.
Okay. Councillor Blagrove.
I would just like to say that looking at this, they're talking about quite quickly, because they're saying, you couldn't have it for the next 6 days. It's not available. We're talking about risk assessment and suppliers. And really, I've spoken on this before, but I have had a look at the costings, and although it says £20,000 on there, obviously estimated, The equipment hire, which I believe is 8,000, RDC land comes out at 11,930, and that is at a 50% discount. You'd need staff there, approximately 63 hours a week at a minimum wage, which is £4,500. You'd need fencing, insurance and a shed for the staff. And the reseeding, I believe Rother have got a policy for damaging turf at £1,000 it was when I was there, so not too sure about that at this point. So this is actually the best part of £30,000, and this is the return needed on it is £3,750 a week, which actually is not viable in my estimations. And so I do think that probably it's been mooted that, you know, we could do this on a permanent basis, as Councillor Stein is saying. But that's a great idea, and I'd like to see something put forward to Rother to say maybe you could give us a time frame, 8 weeks, to see if it works. A trial, they like that word right there, a little trial to see if that works, because it's not conducive to anybody. If it doesn't, it's just going to waste money and time and everything. And it's, you know, it could be a good project, but we need to see first, and then we need to go to Rother and say, okay, how about negotiating a permanent situation? Thank you.
Councillor Sane.
So that is, yeah, exactly what I would
Yeah,
say.
very good thinking.
But I still think we need to ask them what the future plan is before we even do any of it. Even if they gave us the land for 8 weeks for free, we still need to ask them if they've got a future plan with it. Because if they say no,
yeah, it's got to be structured right. What we ask them, because they're jumping straight in with time frames.
What you said, I completely agree with. Yeah. We just need to see if there's a future to it as well.
Councillor
We've got the ball rolling on this already, and I think we've already looked into maybe having it this year. I understand that it might run at a loss, but is it really a loss if we're providing something to the people and residents of Bexhill? That's what we're here for. We're not really here to run it as a business and make the money. We're here to provide something for the people of Bexhill, especially the children of Bexhill. Will we really lose out if we try it for a year? We've got that chance to do it. We've spoken to Rother, we'll try it for a year, and then if it is something that's popular, then we've got something to go back to Rother with and say, look, this was immensely popular. How about we look into doing something a little bit more permanent here and keeping something on site? If it's not popular, then that gives us our answer anyway. But with the fountains not being there, I know that's a word that we don't really bring up anymore, but with the fountains not being there, it was just something that we could add for the children and the residents of Bexhill for this summer.
Councillor Pym.
I think it's just a shame that we have two councils and one council wants to charge another council for usage of land which is a benefit to the residents of both of those councils. The grass is going to sit there and it's going to do nothing for 8 weeks. What we're putting forward is a proposal, although it hasn't got to that situation yet, but I do take on board that through this we need to do a little bit more work on it, and so it might be for next year. But I think we've got a situation where we're going to provide an amenity to the residents of Bexhill and Rother, because we don't expect it just to be inclusive for Bexhill. It'll be Rother residents that we wish to draw into Bexhill to come and enjoy themselves in Bexhill, and Rother is charging us to do it.
I take your point.
It just
they are
massive
responsible.
Sum as well. It's not even.
It's a ludicrous. A little bit of lateral thinking by both district and town councils in order to provide an amenity for the citizens of Rother. That's all it needs.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be grass that's sitting there doing nothing, and it's not a money maker. It shouldn't be a money making venture for them.
Okay.
RDC have been known and still do give land for nothing for events. They have done that in the past. They've done that for me in the past. And I just think if we use the negotiation and say the word trial and put that to them first, are they willing for us to do a trial before we speak? We can't speak about any of this other stuff.
No.
We need to know, would we be able to do that?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hampton.
Would this project be suitable for funding from the new Levelling Up community and housing money that we'd be getting in this area?
I think it's unlikely.
Okay.
That is more infrastructure and capital expenses.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the town area where that money is sitting, but I somehow suspect it wouldn't be, particularly if there's another organisation that's going to fund it. Why would they spend that money? But I'm not 100% sure. I'm Councillor Goss.
Just to suggest, if we do a trial for 8 weeks or whatever, that it's over the kids' holiday, July, August sort of time, not starting tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah. Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Chair. With my town councillor's hat on, I think what we're looking at here, both with the accessible play park and the crazy golf, criticism has been levelled at the town council. What do you do? These are two well-defined projects, both brought forward by the initiative of individual councillors doing a lot of research on their own. Now, I personally feel that Rother should be supporting this, though I'm not party to the overall strategy that Rother is adopting. However, certainly, I, as a ward councillor, as a town councillor, I would like to make the same statement in full council at Rother if there are any problems. But I'm very supportive of this. As I say, I think that it exemplifies what a town council could do. I understand that we're told again and again that town councillors can't do anything. Well, they can if they go about it in the right way. Correct. And I think we've got two councillors who demonstrated how these things can be done. I look forward to others coming forward. But certainly I would be using my Rother Council hat to say, yes, we should have a policy that supports this kind of project.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Councillor Jackley.
Do we have a rough guide as to how much people pay for a session of crazy golf and how long those sessions last?
So it's around the length of it you can't really say, because it's a, say if you go to Hastings 18-hole golf, it's around £26 for a family. That's in Hastings, but that's obviously a professional crazy golf, so I don't know what the price would be for our pop-up one, but that is the price of the Hastings one. We pay about £26 for the four of us.
I'm going to take two more. Councillor Graygrove.
I'd just like to say that at Hastings they're not playing on grass, are they? They're not walking on grass, and the weather.
I'm just saying the price of Hastings.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But the weather is also, you know, a big factor in this. And you know, I take Councillor L's point that this is for the public, and it's, you know, we need to be doing something, as Councillor Byrne says. But we're also using the public purse for this, and it would be nice if maybe we don't make money from this. That's fine. I mean, got a business mind, so I'm always looking to do that. But even if we done it and cut even, that would be a great service. But if we are risking the public money on something that is such a lot, you know, we've got to get such a lot of money back for this. I'd rather say, well, it's £30,000. Let's think of something else that we could, you know, it's not just that. You know, I appreciate work's been done on it so far, but it's better to get it right, I think. That's all.
Councillor Carroll.
I think the fact we're sitting around the table means we are trying to get it right. I think, you know, you've got to plant the seeds and we've got to start looking. Bexhill is in dire need of something for people to do. I think we're being proactive. I think other councils are not being so proactive, but, you know, we've got the introduction of chess tables now on the seafront. That comes from an idea, not from Rother. That comes from an idea. We need to start doing these things, and we need to start going strongly. And I get what everyone's saying, and I'm getting the money side of everything. You know, we're not going to have the Hastings one to go. We're merely looking at a test. Yeah. But to get that test, we've got to start looking more to tomorrow.
Okay, I'm not going to do any more debate, but I'm going to put my two pennies in. I think we need to get clarity on Rother that we can have a long-term arrangement afterwards if it is a success. Because if I can potentially, we do it on a trial for 8 weeks, it costs the council 30,000 less what you have in income, so somewhere between that. If it costs us that, with the amount that we are supporting businesses and providing activities as a one-off, I don't have much of an issue with that. But if it is successful, and then Rother turn around to us and say, sorry, you can't have a long-term lease, then MEM and whoever else helps MEM bring this forward to fruition have wasted their time, because it's a 1 year only. So I think we should clarify somehow, and I would like us to do that first. It could well be difficult to get this up and running for this summer holiday.
Yeah, and
somehow.
the whole point of it is for next year. To be honest, so
that's just my.
Yeah.
So I think we have a bit of time, and I think we should do it right, which is what all these conversations we're all having here is about doing it right. I think we should clarify and get some sort of commitment to, if this is a success and we can prove it's a success for residents and visitors to Bexhill, we will be provided a long-term lease, because Rother do provide long-term leases. They have done to Little Common Football Club, Bexhill, Siddeley Cricket Club, so they do provide long-term leases to land that they are responsible for, stroke own. So they can do it. And if it does work, but we need something from them as commitment, because at the moment we haven't got that. Councillor Al.
As Councillor Plim also said, could we invite Rother District Council to work together on this for the citizens of Rother and the residents of Rother, as well as Bexhill Town Council? Invite them to be a little more lenient, because it is going to be, it's going to be something there for the children and for the people of Rother, as well as Bexhill Town Council, and also towns and cities outside of Rother, because we get a lot of people in over the summer and we've got very little to offer them, apart from a walk on the seafront. So it would be something nice to have there, and it would be something that we could invite Rother to join us with.
I think potentially to move the way forward is for our clerk to write to Rother to ask for some sort of confirmation for the future, but also to ensure that we put it on every other month there's a leaders meeting between Bexhill Town Council and Rother District Council leaders, where now you've elected Councillor Hussain as Vice Chair, he will be at that leaders meeting, so it's a perfect opportunity to discuss it and understand the real reasons, if there are, but we've done it through the official channels as well. So I think that would be probably the way to deal with this. Do we need to vote for that? Okay. That's what I'm proposing. If I've got a seconder. Seconder by Councillor Pym. All those in favour of that as a way to move this forward? That's unanimous to move that forward. Okay. And again, thank you, Councillor Hussain, for leading on this, because I think it's really something, bringing something different to the town. Item 33, the visioning exercise. And note that was held on the 1st of May, and it says to consider next steps. Do we need to consider next steps? I don't think we need to go into the infinite detail of the visioning exercise, but where do councillors see that moving to? Councillor Braygrove got in first.
Yeah, I would say that I was at that meeting, and whilst there was quite a lot that we had intended to speak about, the meeting kind of went in several different directions, and I think it was a good meeting. We can always deal with the rest of it at another time, but you know, good came out of it, and I was pleased to be able to contribute to that meeting.
Okay, Councillor Plim.
Yes, I think with regards to the vision, I think that will naturally happen through the neighbourhood plan process when we go through, and no doubt it will nurture itself through that, and we'll probably be able to revisit the visioning exercise once the neighbouring plans, neighbourhood plan has sort of gains momentum.
So, Councillor Jackson.
It felt to me as if we felt as a group that we actually did need to get on and do some more things, but I also feel that the first, that Councillor Brailsford's year has probably set us in good stead to do so. So hopefully we will now get on and do things.
Maybe we should have that as an annual thing and do it again in, say, April next year, but plan a little bit further ahead as to how that's going to look. So maybe we could think about putting it as an agenda item in maybe December, January, probably December because January is preset. So maybe that's the way to deal with that. Councillor Braygrove?
Echoing what Councillor Plim said, I think it will become a natural thing anyway. I think if it's just another visioning exercise, the meeting could go a bit like it did the other day. So maybe we could have a little bit more thought between us about what it is about and what it is we want to see at that meeting?
If we have that as a principle, as an agenda item in December, that gives everybody round here from now to December to think about it, and potentially I'll discuss with our clerk how that can move forward at that meeting. Councillor Byrne.
One of the co-CEOs of Rother, Dr. Tony Leonard, who left us, his PhD, his doctorate, came from writing a paper on regeneration of South Coast seaside towns. I had hoped to be able to present to you all an abstract. I've asked someone to do an abstract of that paper, because it is about 400 and something pages, but an abstract of it, maybe to focus in on what he sees from academic research as what's necessary for our sort of town. And I think that may prove to be a really good framework. Okay. If everyone, I'm very happy to mail it to everybody, and if that starts any hairs running, or you know, if there's something we all feel we can get behind. But I just think that work has been done by someone who was intimately involved with local government, but has done the doctorate on the whole, on really academic research. So I think it would be useful.
If you could trace it down to maybe 3-4 pages.
I'm hoping it'll be maybe even less than that. But I have asked for that abstract, and it'll be made available.
Councillor Thomas.
Yes, I've spoken to several people around there, and what they want to see is, how is it going to be in 10 or 15 years' time? How do we want to see Bexhill? After I'm gone, that doesn't mean to say that we all haven't got ideas. And just writing it down, perhaps not very many words, but a few words, and along with Councillor Burns, we can plan how we want, some sort of strategic plan as how we want to work forward.
If we think about that between now and December and bring it back to the table in preparation for this time next year, maybe. Councillor Jacklin.
I must admit, I have a slight allergy to people with PhDs. I want to set something up, and the person who took over from me made it very complicated. And when they left, I was brought back in to restore it back to its beautiful simplicity. So I would judge the guy who did the PhD by his performance, which I guess is why we're talking about actually doing something.
I think we're hoping that Councillor Byrne will be able to précis the 400 and something pages down to 3/4 to make it easy to understand.
Paragraphs.
Yes.
That's why I'd like to circulate it unofficially to start with, to see if you think it is a document that would have any status, or whether you think it is, you know, academic claptrap. So unofficially circulated, happy to take comments, and if you want to use it as a framework to feed into another document, either neighbourhood plan or visioning exercise, it's all yours.
I'll move on from the visioning exercise because I think we've considered the next steps. Item 34 is motions from councillors. There are none. Item 35, correspondence and matters. There's two bits here. You've seen the correspondence asking for somebody from the Town Council to be a representative for unsightly signage eastwards of the Glyn Gap area. I think it was a member of the public that wrote in, and rail company getting involved, and they would like somebody from the Town Council. So I think that is for us to decide whether we want to be involved, and in which case who would like to nominate themselves and be approved to go along to that discussion. Any volunteers? Councillor Carroll.
I'll put myself forward. It's something I've got a bit of interest in, and it's not just that road sign. I'd like to get involved with all of them, even if it means going with a sponge and a bucket.
Okay. Councillor Blim.
This is... I'm not too sure whether I'm reading into the right thing on this, because wasn't it on the back of an email regarding signage that's been thrown over the...
So we can't actually do anything with that.
Yeah, no. So I don't know if it's not the signage.
Oh, okay. This is a sign that's been damaged by somebody or other, and a member of the public has decided to do something about it, and they've been on the phone and emailed all the relevant authorities, and they want to know whether somebody from the town council would like to be involved.
I think Southern Water or something. Somebody's chucked it over into the railway.
So no one will go with it because they haven't got the right tickets.
It's only rail people.
So
it will only be a rail
the
thing.
decision is, do we want somebody to be involved in it, in which case is there a volunteer, or do we not want to be involved in it?
I honestly think that it's something that we should refer to Network Rail, because it's signage that's been thrown onto Network Rail property. We haven't got a say in that.
No, it's correspondence that the clerks receive, so it goes on the agenda. So, do I have is that your proposal that we advise the member of the public?
We refer to Network Rail and ask them what they're doing about it.
We refer to them.
I believe we should do.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the proposal. Seconder for that motion, Councillor Hussain. All those in favour of that? That's carried unanimously to write to Network Rail and ask them what they're doing and to sort it out. 35B is to consider correspondence from Bexhill Museum regarding funding. It's added to full council as this request is outside the scope of the Amenities Committee. So have you all had a chance to read the document and the emails and everything else associated with it? Councillor Brailsford.
Yes, I've had a chance, and I'm really excited by this project, and I'm very keen for us to seriously consider it. But retrospectively, I think there are probably a lot of us have got questions arising from reading through the document and the description of the project, and I wonder if it would be possible to defer making a decision on this matter until our next June meeting. And then we could bring our questions along and possibly get a representative from the Bexhill Museum to answer these questions, just so that we can make sure and satisfy ourselves that we're making the right choices on behalf of our residents and for the town. So I wonder if this could possibly be deferred until June.
Okay. I've read it several times, and I'm confused as to what they're actually asking for, to be fair. I don't know, Julie, do you have any more information on what you presented to us? Well, I've read it several times, and it reads that this is the modular toilet, so this is the toilets that are going in Edgerton Park, and the museum have got a figure as a grant, but there's 150,000 for the toilets, but I thought that Rother had the finance for the and that's what's confusing me. Unless you know any more.
The line says they're requesting £150,000 for the toilet unit from the town council. So I've asked Rohan to come along to the council to talk to you about it, give you a bit more information. Didn't do it tonight because it's the AGS,
and
it's too much to do.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to receive this correspondence quickly, and I've invited him along to June, so he'll come and talk to you in June.
Councillor Timothy.
Yes, can I just clarify a little bit why this has come in, because the current toilets are in the basement of the museum, and there is a money sitting at East Sussex, which until those toilets are moved, that money will not be given to the museum. So that's why they want to be moved outside, so they can carry on with their plans and they can get the East Sussex money.
Okay.
So
it's a chain reaction.
I'm not sure how time critical that money is. I don't know. Rohan will know.
So are we being asked to be a facilitator then, to give them £120,000 for Rother District Council to move the toilets from one part of their property to another part of their property? So we're facilitating the move?
No.
They won't be able to.
No.
Oh, I see. They won't. Oh, I thought they were Rother District toilets.
I think the answer is exactly as Councillor Brailsford has suggested, and it sounds like our clerk has already set it up to get Rohan to come along to the June meeting. So I'm reading this document as it's informational to set the scene for being presented to at the next meeting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Councillor Jackson.
If we spend this money, would it mean that somebody who went to the park but did not go to the museum, would that person be able to go to the toilets?
It doesn't say that in this document, so I don't know. We'd have to suspend standing orders and have a question and answer for Rohan, I suspect. Councillor Blader on the subject.
It's a little bit confusing, and there's a lot of people that aren't on the same page about it, and it's sort of come in very quickly. And it seemed to me when I read it, although I've been missing for part of the build-up of this, that it's like, quick, we need 150,000, let's go down the town council and get that, and it's all in a hurry, and this needs to be debated a lot before so that we know what we're doing and where we're going. We can't just be like a piggy bank and pay the money. We can't do that.
No, I think that's what people are saying. So,
Yeah.
finally, Councillor Flynn.
Yeah, sorry to chip in again, but I think it would be really beneficial at this meeting that Bexhill Museum come to us with their project, for someone from Rother District Council to come to us as well and explain their point of view about it as well, because otherwise we're not going to get, we're going to raise expectations from the people of the Bexhill Museum, and we really don't know what the situation is regarding the toilets. So someone from Rother District Council should come along to us as well and explain their position with regard to those particular toilets. It might come about as a result of the further meetings that you have, leaders' meetings. It might come about through that. But it would be beneficial for us all to understand what their position is, because it's silent on it.
We'll take that away and see if we can make something happen with that. I can't insist that someone turns up from another government body, but we'll see what we can do, because I take your point. So we're going to defer that until the next meeting and get Rohan along, and we'll see what we can do with the Rother side of it. It should be a joint presentation to us, because it is both impacted, but it's how we make that happen. So, okay. Item 36, which is questions from councillors. There were two questions that were asked. Councillor Crotty asked if the agenda for council meetings could be added to the notice boards, and the answer has been given. The Engagement and Communications Committee can review the notice board policy, because we have a policy for notice boards. And the second question, Councillor Blagrove asked if the hub has a landline, and the answer is yes, it does. So they're the questions that were asked. They're not for debate, they're just questions and answers. No. Sorry.
Okay. Can we ask a question at this point?
Yes, you can, and it will be answered at the next meeting.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for the answer to my last question. As we've just come from a toilet debate there, I thought I'd speak about the toilets that have unfortunately gone wrong in Devonshire Square. And I have had 9 people contacting me myself. I don't know whether any other councillors have. It's been a very bad situation. They were vandalised, they were in a nasty state, and they had to get closed down.
Can I just say this is about a question you have?
Yes, I have a question. I have to put the background in. The question is, can we please have a way to let the public know about that, or about situations that happen like that? Because they deserve to know. We need to communicate with them and let them know, because it's, I've told so many people, sorry, I haven't got a clue, it doesn't look really good. I should be able to say, well, this and that has happened. So if we could have something, some policy made where we could, maybe the clerk can make something that we can give out, we can put it on the website, we can put it on the Facebook page, so that people feel that we're keeping them up to date, especially as we've only got 2 toilets at the moment, and in the future we're going to need to keep people updated on what's going on, particularly as they're always getting vandalised.
So can I confirm what your question is?
Yes, can we please have something in place where when something goes wrong and a toilet is closed because of vandalism, that we can, there is some way to put a statement out to the public.
Okay.
Thank you. And I've got another question.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've tried to advertise this meeting. I used to do it quite a lot, even when I wasn't in the council. We used to have quite a few people turning up. And I lost heart doing it because nobody else was doing it. But I was just wondering if, because, I'm just making it up. I'm just styling it as I like and putting it on my groups. But I wondered if possibly the clerk or the staff or somebody can make something and send it to me so that I can distribute it across social media to let people know.
If I can suggest, you're on the Engagement and Communications Committee, raise it as a motion,
okay,
and get it on the agenda and discuss it through that route.
Fine, thank you.
That's where that sits up, I suggest. Any more questions?
Can I raise one? The the answer about the landline for the hub was quite succinct. What is the number and why is it not on the website if we have a number?
So the number's not in use at the moment. There is one, but at the moment the hub isn't open long enough to release that number. So you've seen the adverts go out for further resource. That's part of the extended plan, and then we'll review that, and if necessary then we'll release the landline number. But otherwise you'll end up with, for the first 2 hours of a currently Tuesday morning, someone's going to listen to all the answer phone messages on the landline, and that will waste probably 2 hours of where the hours are very limited. So that will be reviewed when we've got more staff in place. Any other questions? Otherwise I'll move on to the date of the next meeting, which is the 26th of June. Sorry.
Sorry. I didn't have a chance to alert the clerk and yourself. I'd just like to, while we're still on air, to apologise to my fellow councillors and the past chair and the clerk regarding a comment I made at the meeting on the 10th of April. I did send a communication to both of those people immediately, but it is obviously courteous to apologise to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Noted. I prefer to look forward. But thank you. So the date of the next meeting is the 26th of June. Motions to be with the clerk by the 17th of June. That's the end of the meeting. So I'm going to bang.